All right, Procreate versus Paper, or formerly Paper 53. So interestingly, I started all of my work on paper, or formerly Paper 53, because I loved the feel of this book. This, when I first got it, absolutely blew my mind that you could actually come in, open a book, and go and doodle. It was like best thing since sliced bread, even though that was like 1,000 centuries ago. And I ended up drawing some of my best drawings on here because you have some really cool tools. First of all, you have the marker, which is awesome. Again, everything with a pen is better. I started with my finger in an airport, and right now I have this. When I got the pen, you can have it so it can smudge. It's got some really kind of cool stuff. We got the watercolor brush, which was amazing. And you have, again, pen, which interacts like most, pencil, calligraphy. The more you press, the wider it gets with pressure-sensitive tip. Again, Apple Pencil is amazing. And to get colors, you can do the same like you would with most and just drag and drop into the background. So it has a lot of the same features as Procreate. You can drop in images. You can choose a grid if you want to draw, architecture, which is, it's handy to have. Both apps have a similar feature. The one downfall is you cannot animate this. This is strictly drawing program. You used to be able to, once you had a full book, you used to be able to buy that book. Whether or not they actually kept that option, I don't know. So you can customize the cover to what you want to be. You can choose a cover to make different albums. So it's really, at a basic form, it's merely a drawing app. A lot for architecture, creativity. Really, really super good for beginners, in my opinion. One of the cool things I did like about Paper is this painting tool. So if you wanted to draw a broad circle here, you didn't have to sit there and color everything in or drag and drop. You could just do what you want, come back and forth, and you get these really kind of cool shapes and art style. It's very much a style, but Procreate does not have this option. I kind of wish it did, because back when I was starting all of this, it was amazing. I had like this iPad mini back in, I know I sound old. I'm not that old. Back in like 2017. If you wanted to go more in depth into it, that's when I would switch to Procreate. Procreate is like the next step between Adobe Suite and Paper 53, or Paper. I gotta get used to this name. Similar features, except this time you can choose which brush that you want. You can choose the size, the opacity, which just determines how much it has behind it. So if you had a layer behind it, the opacity would be whether it's see-through or not see-through, right? You see how the pink overlays in the top, that's the opacity, just basic. Where this can get a lot more kind of in-depth. Obviously, you probably could zoom with the, that's actually a cool logo now that I'm doing that. So there's a lot that you can do. You can animation assist so that it can animate for you. You can take what you want and you can move it around. Lasso, you can cut, you can select, you can do hue and saturation if you want to change the color. You can do motion blur, Gaussian blur, which is just a more basic, the blur isn't going in any separate direction. So it's like, I hate to say like the stepchild of the Adobe Suite, but it kind of is, where I like the fact that I can draw and I can see my change. That's one thing I don't like about Adobe, even though their animation app and their software as a whole is really, really great, way overpriced, but it's amazing. The one thing I do like about this is the fact that you can physically draw on it. It feels like a piece of paper, except now when I go to draw on a piece of paper and I go like this, nothing happens because I'm so used to drawing on a tablet. You can do layers within here. You can change colors. Obviously, you can do that in any app. I know that's kind of trivial. You can smudge. Paper, you can only smudge with the blur. This, you can actually take your brush and you could smear. That's weird. You can smear with different brushes to give it this kind of different look to it. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to do dots now. I'm going to smear with dots. And it's going to bring this kind of all over the place. That's way too small. Nobody can see that. Yeah, it can bring it all over the place. And it's just smearing the ink. That you can't do with paper, which is kind of sad. So there's definitely more versatility within this app than there is with paper. But it comes down to what level are you at? So are you beginner? I would go with paper. It is a fantastic place to start. You'll get used to brushes, strokes, pressure, how to really draw all the shapes in different sizes. You can start here in Procreate, but it's much more overwhelming for a beginner. I would recommend going to it. Now, I paid for paper way back when, so I was able to read down. Paper does have in-app purchases. I bought it way back when, so most of that's grandfathered in, which is nice, but still it's an added cost. Procreate, it's a one-time payment. You pay for it once, you don't pay for it again, which not a lot of companies have that kind of integrity now. Depending on what you want, it's very distinctive. If you're beginner versus advanced, you're definitely going to want to go with one over the other.